He laughed at the man's old car, not knowing he was laughing at his new boss. The morning sun kissed the mirrored glass of Innovatech solutions like liquid gold, every reflection telling a story of Silicon Valley triumph and technological rule. Ethan Chase stepped out of his matte black Tesla Model S with the rehearsed grace of someone who believed he owned the world and everyone in it. At 28, he carried himself with the unearned confidence of inherited wealth, his tailored suit costing more than most employees' monthly rent. He straightened his tie in the car's dark reflection when the sound reached him, not the whisper of electric vehicles, but the coughing lurch of a 1978 Ford pickup that looked as if it had wrestled its way down every back road in America. From the driver's seat emerged Arthur Pendleton, a man whose time-worn face spoke of decades Ethan could not begin to imagine. His simple clothes, faded jeans, a plaid shirt, work boots, felt like a quiet declaration amid the expensive suits and Italian shoes. Ethan watched with the disdain of those who have never had to fight for anything. His laugh sliced across the parking lot like a knife, making several employees pause on their way inside. "Hey, security!" he shouted, his voice carrying the authority of someone who thinks the world revolves around him. "Where do visitors park? This rolling scrap heap cannot be polluting the real cars out here." The younger staff laughed nervously, trading uneasy looks. The older ones lowered their heads, recognizing something in Arthur that Ethan was too young to grasp. Arthur only smiled, a smile bearing the infinite patience of a man who had seen tech empires rise and die. "The worth of things is not the price we pay for them, young man," he said, his voice as soft as the worn fabric of his shirt. "It is the stories they carry and the work they do." Ethan circled the truck like a predator around prey, rapping his knuckles on the rusted panel. "Stories? This is the past, old man. We build the future." His gesture took in the gleaming Tesla. "That is the future. Silent, efficient, elegant." He pulled his iPhone from his pocket, filming the scene with a condescending grin. "I will post this. When the past stops by your office, someone tell the museum a piece is missing. #scrapyard #technology is the future." As Arthur walked into the building with a dignity that transcended his simple clothes, Ethan missed the looks traded among the senior employees. He did not see the guard who knew Arthur from previous visits and held a quiet respect for him. He did not notice how the receptionist addressed Arthur with a deference that went beyond professional courtesy. What Ethan Chase did not know, what his arrogance kept him from seeing, was that this plain-looking man carried more wisdom in his calloused hands than Ethan had in all his expensive diplomas. That the old pickup had witnessed more deals closed than the Tesla ever would. And that true power, as Arthur knew well, never needs to make noise to be heard. As Ethan posted the video, sealing his own fate with each typed laugh, he could not imagine he was about to learn the costliest lesson of his life, that the person you belittle may be holding the keys not only to your professional future, but to your own human redemption. The next day, the company had a new owner, and he had a score to settle. Morning returned with Silicon Valley's familiar golden routine, but something in the air at Innovatech Solutions was different, a silent tension hanging over the corridors like an invisible mist. Ethan Chase arrived in his Tesla with the same old arrogance, his condescending smile still carrying the echo of the previous day's mockery. He never noticed the exchanged glances, the conversations that halted as he passed, the weighted quiet that followed him like a shadow. The first sign came at breakfast, an email from the board calling a company-wide meeting for 9 o'clock. It was not unusual, but there was an urgency in the message that made even the most distracted employees sense that something significant was coming. Ethan skimmed it between a sip of organic coffee and a quick check of the stock on his phone, assuming it was another routine announcement about expansion or acquisition. At 9 o'clock sharp, the main auditorium was packed. Ethan took his usual seat in the front row beside the other directors, his body relaxing into the leather chair like a king on his throne. He traded complacent smiles with his peers, blissfully unaware of the underground current of expectation running through the room. When the rear doors opened and the board filed in, followed by a man Ethan recognized instantly, the world seemed to freeze for a heartbeat. Arthur Pendleton walked at the center of the group, wearing the same faded jeans and plaid shirt as the day before, but now carrying an authority that knocked the air from Ethan's lungs. The current Chief Executive Officer, Richard Morrison, took the microphone with hands that trembled slightly. "Good morning, everyone. I have an announcement that will change the future of Innovatech Solutions." His voice echoed through the absolute silence. "It is with great pride, and some humility, that I announce that Pendleton Holdings has acquired a majority stake in our company. And our new Chief Executive Officer and principal shareholder is Arthur Pendleton." The name rolled through the room like thunder. Pendleton Holdings, the legendary investment fund known for turning startups into global giants, as famous for its spectacular success as for the near-total anonymity of its founder. The same man Ethan had ridiculed in the parking lot was the legend everyone in Silicon Valley wanted to impress. Arthur took the microphone, his eyes sweeping the room before settling on Ethan. There was no anger there, no vengeance, only a calm assessment more frightening than rage could ever be. "Thank you, Richard," he began, his voice as gentle as the day before, now carrying a weight that drew every person forward in their seats. "I have been watching this company for some time. I have watched its culture, its people, its values." He paused, his gaze still on Ethan, who felt a cold sweat slide down his spine. "Sometimes," Arthur continued, "the true value of an organization is not found in its balance sheets or its market valuation. It is found in the character of its people, in how they treat one another, especially in how they treat those they judge to be beneath them." The silence was so deep one could hear the projectors hum. Ethan felt every eye in the room turn toward him, every memory of his arrogance replayed and reweighed in the blinding light of this revelation. Arthur did not need to say more. The video Ethan had posted, the mockery, the laughter, the disdain, was now projected on the giant screen behind them for all to see. And in the new Chief Executive Officer's eyes, Ethan saw not only the end of his career, but the beginning of a lesson that would change everything he thought he knew about success, power, and the true meaning of human worth. The humiliation was filmed, and now it would be used as a lesson for everyone. Silence lay so thick over the auditorium it could have been cut with a knife, each second stretching into an eternity of shared embarrassment. On the massive screen behind Arthur Pendleton, the images played with merciless clarity. Ethan Chase circling the old pickup with the entitlement of a born ruler, his fingers tapping the metal as if touching something contaminated, his laugh ringing with an arrogance that now felt pitiful in the wake of revelation. Arthur did not need to speak. The images spoke for him, each frame a silent accusation, each gesture from Ethan an involuntary confession of character. Employees watched, some with second-hand shame, others with restrained satisfaction as the arrogant man was finally forced to face his actions. The younger ones who had laughed with Ethan the day before now avoided his gaze, as if afraid their silent complicity would be judged as well. Ethan felt the floor vanish under his feet. His once confident face was pale, his trembling hands clinging to the armrests like the last anchor in a sea of humiliation. He watched himself on the screen, a man he barely recognized, drunk on privilege and blind to the humanity of others. Every comment, every snicker, every condescending look, preserved for his eternal shame. When the video ended, Arthur finally broke the silence. His voice did not carry anger or the thirst for revenge, but something far more powerful: disappointment. Innovation, he began, the word echoing in the still room, is not only about advanced technology or billion-dollar valuations. It is about human evolution. About learning that real progress happens when we move forward together, not when we step on others to climb faster. His eyes moved across the room, meeting each employee's gaze as if speaking to them one by one. This pickup, he continued, gesturing to the frozen frame on the screen, carried me through 3 economic recessions. It witnessed the birth of companies you only know from the history books. It hauled tools that built things that will outlast us. It has more history in its engine than many of you will have in your entire lives. The humility in Arthur's words was so genuine that even the cynics felt moved. He was not defending his truck, he was teaching a lesson about respect, about value, about the peril of judging by appearances. When I was young, Arthur went on, his eyes slipping to some distant memory, a man much wiser than I am told me something I carry to this day: who you are when you think no one is watching is who you really are. And yesterday, when I thought no one important was watching, I saw the true character of this company. I saw what happens when success reaches the head before it reaches the heart. Ethan felt each word like a physical blow. He remembered what he had thought in that moment, that Arthur was insignificant, that his opinion did not matter, that he was just an old man with an old car in a world of important people. Now, seeing the wisdom in Arthur's eyes and the respect in the room around him, he understood the magnitude of his mistake. Arthur turned his full attention to Ethan. "Ethan Chase," he said, the use of the full name landing like a formal verdict, "you have talent. I have followed your work. But talent without character is like a sports car without brakes. It can go fast, but it will eventually cause a crash." The metaphor was so precise that several employees nodded without meaning to. Ethan felt the weight of his own arrogance press down, every past humiliation rising to haunt him with painful clarity. "And so," Arthur concluded, his voice now carrying the final authority of someone who holds not only power but the moral ground. You will learn a lesson I hope you carry for the rest of your career. A lesson about humility, about respect, about the true meaning of value. The auditorium held a collective breath, everyone sensing they were witnessing not just the fall of an arrogant man, but the birth of a new corporate culture, one where character mattered as much as competence, where respect outweighed resumes, and where the most important lessons would not come from books, but from experiences that turn people into better human beings. The punishment was perfect, but the redemption would be even more powerful. Silence in the auditorium had a physical weight, each person feeling Arthur's words as if aimed directly at them. Ethan sat motionless, the posture once relaxed now rigid as stone, his eyes locked to the floor as if searching for an exit he knew did not exist. Arthur walked to the edge of the stage, his eyes moving over every face before finally resting on Ethan. "Talents like yours are rare, Ethan," he said, his calm still more powerful than any shouting. "But talent without humility is like a rough diamond. It has potential value, but it must be cut before it truly shines." He paused, letting the words echo through everyone's conscience. "And cutting, I have learned over the years, does not happen in corner offices with ocean views or in executive meetings. It happens on the factory floor, on the production lines, in the places where things are actually built." A chill ran through Ethan. He knew what was coming before Arthur spoke it aloud. His mind raced backward to every time he had belittled the production staff, to every dismissive comment about manual work, to the arrogance with which he treated those he considered beneath him. "Therefore," Arthur continued, his gaze never leaving Ethan's, "you will spend the next 3 months working the graveyard shift on our main assembly line. You will learn every stage of the production process, from the first welded components to the final product test. You will work beside the people who truly build what we sell." A surprised murmur rippled through the room. "Work the line?" The director of innovation, the wonder boy who only visited the factory for publicity photos? It was a humiliation so exact that even those who pitied Ethan recognized the poetic justice. "During this period," Arthur went on, "you will report directly to the shift supervisor, Miguel Rodriguez. You will arrive at 4 o'clock in the morning and leave at 12 o'clock. You will wear the standard factory uniform. You will have 30 minutes for lunch. And you will do the same work as everyone else on the line." Each condition jabbed at Ethan's ego, each restriction a reminder of how far he had drifted from the reality of the company's true work. He pictured himself waking before dawn, pulling on the blue coveralls he had mocked, taking orders from a supervisor whose name he barely knew. "This is not punishment, Ethan," Arthur said, as if reading his thoughts. "This is education. It is an opportunity for you to rediscover what it really means to create value. To understand that every product that leaves this place carries not only technology, but the sweat and effort of real people." He turned to the audience again. "And to ensure everyone learns from this, the lessons Ethan gathers on the line will be shared weekly in meetings with the entire management team. I want every one of us to understand that innovation without connection to reality is only fantasy." The irony was thick enough to taste. Ethan, who had seen himself as the visionary mind, the builder of futures, would return to the basics, to the foundations that held up the whole tower of his arrogance. "You start tomorrow," Arthur finished, his tone allowing no debate. "4 o'clock in the morning, east gate of the plant. Miguel will be waiting." As the meeting ended, Ethan remained seated, paralyzed by the magnitude of what had just occurred. He was not only losing his status, his panoramic office, his seat at the table. He was about to begin a journey that would challenge everything he thought he knew about success, value, and his place in the world. And beneath the layers of humiliation and fear, a small spark of curiosity flickered. The curiosity to discover who he would be after 3 months working beside the people he had always belittled, and whether this terrible assignment might somehow make him someone better. The humiliation of the first day was only the beginning of a transformation he never thought possible. The alarm tore through the pre-dawn stillness with a violence that felt personal. Ethan Chase rose from sleep into the bare reality of his new fate. 3:15 in the morning. A dark apartment, the blue coveralls waiting like a uniform of shame over the chair. The coarse fabric scraped his skin as he dressed, every fiber a rough reminder of how far he had fallen. On the empty streets of Silicon Valley, his Tesla felt like an object from another universe. A spacecraft ferrying an astronaut to a planet where all the rules were reversed. Factory lights already burned on the horizon, artificial constellations guiding him to a world that had always existed parallel to his, and that he had never truly seen. Miguel Rodriguez stood at the gate like a watchful statue, broad shoulders shaped by decades of real work, not expensive gems. A silent nod was the only greeting before he led Ethan into the kingdom of sounds and smells that would define the coming months. The assembly line stretched before him like a river of metal in motion, each station an island of specialization, each worker a master in a small universe of tasks. His assigned bench held tools that looked like archaeological artifacts, objects he knew existed in theory, whose practical purpose he had always delegated to others. The first attempts were pure frustration. His hands, accustomed to the gentle touch of responsive keyboards, shook as they gripped the soldering gun like a snake. Burnt metal smelled like failure. The dancing components bore witness to his incompetence. Every motion was a battle against his own body, against years of conditioning that prepared him to command, not to build. Then, slowly, almost imperceptibly, something shifted. The steady rhythm of the belt, the hypnotic hum of machines, the methodical repetition of gestures began to create a new kind of focus in his mind. Not the multifocal concentration of executive meetings, but a singular, deep, almost meditative focus. Solder, check, pass along. Solder, check, pass along. Fatigue arrived like a tide, first in his feet, then his back, finally in eyes that burned from forced concentration. But with the fatigue came a strange clarity. He began to notice patterns that had been invisible, the way seasoned workers saved motions, the elegance of efficiency, the practical intelligence that did not come from books but from thousands of repetitions. When the brake bell finally sounded, his body protested as he moved after hours of near stillness. In the cafeteria, he sat alone, watching the social ballet around him, quiet conversations, genuine laughter, the camaraderie born of shared effort. One older worker, the same man who had silently shown him how to adjust his grip, walked over and set an extra sandwich on his table before returning to his group without a word. That simple act of silent solidarity touched something in Ethan no motivational speech had ever reached. He ate slowly, savoring not just the food but the novelty of the experience, real hunger, real tiredness, the real satisfaction of having made something tangible, even if imperfect. Back at the line, something fundamental had shifted in his posture. Not resignation, but the beginning of understanding. He began to see not only parts to be assembled, but the entire ecosystem that made the company function, the hands that built what his mind envisioned, the sweat that gave life to his abstract ideas. When the shift finally ended and he walked back to his car in the midday light, the world looked different. Colors were brighter, sounds sharper, his own body newly rediscovered. He was no longer only serving a sentence, he was beginning a journey of rediscovery, and the man who would emerge on the other side would be fundamentally different from the one who had entered the plant that morning. The true transformation was not in his manual skills, but in the foundations of his character, and he was only beginning to grasp how deep the changes would go. Redemption would not come from Arthur's forgiveness, but from the respect of those he had always looked down on. Weeks blurred into a steady flow of pre-dawns and physical work, each day erasing a little more of the man Ethan Chase used to be and revealing someone he barely recognized. The blue coveralls no longer chafed, they had molded to his body, becoming a second skin marked by labor, grease stains, small cuts at the sleeves, the honest wear of a person who truly used his clothes to work. Something fundamental changed in his relationship with time. Where he once measured days in scheduled meetings and project deadlines, he now measured them in completed components, in rhythms found, in small efficiency wins only the line understands. His carefully tended hands now bore calluses and tiny scars, honor marks he began to carry with quiet pride. During the third month, the true miracle arrived so gradually he almost missed it. A particularly rough morning, one belt jammed, defective parts, the entire rhythm of production compromised. While others grumbled and waited for the technicians, Ethan found himself looking at the problem not as an impatient director, but as someone who understood the flow. He stepped to the stalled line, his eyes tracking the mechanisms with a comprehension that surprised even him. Months of practical work had given him a feel for machines that no master of business administration, MBA, could teach. He pointed to a misaligned tensioner others had overlooked, suggested a simple adjustment, and the belt came back to life with a satisfied growl. Supervisor Miguel looked at him with an expression Ethan had never seen before, not surprise, not admiration, but respect. That single glance was worth more than all the praise he had received in his executive career. It was quiet recognition that he finally understood, that he had crossed the invisible line dividing those who command from those who do. In the days that followed, small changes appeared. Workers who had avoided his eyes now nodded when he arrived. The older man who had given him the sandwich on day one began to share stories during breaks, 40 years on assembly lines, the factory's evolution, the people who had come and gone. Ethan listened not out of politeness, but with genuine interest, discovering that every man there carried a wisdom he would never find in business books. When Arthur Pendleton appeared unannounced one morning, walking the line with his calm stride, Ethan felt him without turning. He kept soldering, his movements now fluid and precise, more focused than he had ever been in any board meeting. Arthur watched in silence for several minutes, seeing not only the technical skill Ethan had developed, but something more important, the change in his posture, in the way he related to tools, to space, to people. There was a genuine humility in his movements that could not be faked. "How is it going, Ethan?" Arthur asked at last, his voice almost lost in the factory's noise. Ethan finished the part in his hands before answering, a gesture unthinkable 3 months earlier. "I am learning," he said simply, and those few words held a world of meaning. Arthur nodded, the hint of a smile at his lips. "Sometimes we need to go down in order to truly rise," he said, and moved on. In that moment, Ethan understood that the true test had never been about punishment or humiliation. It was about rediscovery, about finding the core of his character beneath layers of privilege and pride. As he returned to work, he felt something he had not felt in years, the pure satisfaction of doing a thing well, for the simple joy of doing it well. The respect he had earned from those men was worth more than any promotion or bonus, because it was something that could not be bought, only deserved. And he finally knew the difference. The return to the executive world revealed that the greatest change was not what he could do, but who he had become. The last day on the line arrived with a simplicity that mocked the magnitude of Ethan's transformation. There were no speeches, no ceremony, just the usual work followed by Miguel's quiet handshake and a collective nod from the others that said more than words. The blue coveralls he turned in were unrecognizable, not because of dirt, but because of the honest wear of 3 months of real use. When he walked into the main building the next morning, wearing a suit for the first time in 90 days, the strangeness went both ways. Day shift employees looked at him with curiosity tinted by respect, as if he had returned from a long journey to unknown lands. His office, once a symbol of status, now felt strangely empty, full of expensive objects, stripped of meaning. The meeting with Arthur took place in the same auditorium where it had all begun, but this time they were alone. Arthur sat calmly, watching Ethan enter with the same keen eyes as before, now lit by a different gleam, not judgment, but genuine curiosity. 3 months. Arthur began, his fingers tapping lightly on the solid wood table. "What did you learn?" Ethan did not answer at once. His mind moved through pre-dawns, aching hands, soldered components, quiet conversations over breaks. He could have talked about production efficiency, workflow, the technical details he now knew intimately. But that was not what mattered. "I learned that real value is not in the price of things, but in the work they represent," he said at last, his voice carrying conviction born of experience, not theory. "I learned there are many kinds of intelligence, and that the practical wisdom of the assembly line is worth as much as any master of business administration." Arthur nodded slowly. "And what would you do differently, if you returned as Director of Innovation?" Ethan looked out the window at the plant where he had spent the last 3 months. I would create a mandatory rotation program, he answered without hesitation. Every executive, every manager, every so-called visionary should spend regular time on the production line. You cannot truly lead people whose work you do not understand. You cannot innovate honestly without knowing how things are actually made. The words came with a clarity that surprised even him. He was not reciting a motivational speech. He was speaking a truth that had become part of him. Arthur studied him for a long moment, as if measuring not only the words but the man behind them. "The board met yesterday," he said finally. "We discussed your position at the company." Ethan braced for the dismissal he had considered inevitable. Instead, Arthur smiled, a genuine smile, not the condescending curve of before. "We are creating a new role. Vice President of Innovation and Operations. Someone who understands both strategic vision and the reality of the shop floor. Someone who can build bridges between the floors above and the floors below." He let the pause hang. "The job is yours, if you want it." The silence that followed was unlike any Ethan had known, not the silence of humiliation or fear, but the quiet of discovery. He realized he was not being promoted despite his time on the line, but because of it. "I accept," he said, and the two words carried the weight of 3 months of change. When he left the auditorium, he did not go straight to his new office. He went first to the plant, to tell Miguel and the others. Not as a boss announcing a promotion, but as a colleague sharing news. In that moment, Ethan Chase understood the final lesson, that true success does not come from climbing above others, but from growing with them. That respect earned is worth more than power granted. And that sometimes, to find your way up, you must first have the courage to go down. The journey that began with humiliation ended with a discovery far more powerful, that the greatest privilege is not inheriting a fortune, but having the chance to become a better person. And that, he finally understood, was true wealth.